second for me to come up and log in?
People are logging on to the questions here, so
Sure. We should be.
make sure. Oh,
What do you do, Orchard?
I work at First Quality Auto. Sell cars.
Yep.
So I'm just going to say, Schwartz taught me everything I know. Taught me how to tell people, how to persuade.
I'm going to refresh here.
Speech that one semester class that we have for life.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Are there questions?
Gave me the interview
Not yet. There's people kind of
Just saying hi.
Oh. Hi.
So we'll give them about a minute to sign on and get started, and we'll get going.
Who's saying hi?
So just, you know, everyone can see you right now, basically. So.
Oh, we have one watching right now.
Whoa.
Oh, not two.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Wow, in the audience.
Going viral, guys.
You can see how many people.
2 people. It's because of you, Orchard.
I'm drawing them in.
Up to 3.
I texted everyone.
Yeah.
All my family's coming in.
To learn about your job.
It's a big moment.
Yeah. Probably about selling cars.
The people are right now like going on the screen and not refreshing.
Making my commission.
Are you actually on commission?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I get to answer calls. It's pretty fun.
That's not that bad.
The process questions, like interview still is something. I'll do the education and reflection. You guys do.
Yeah. We don't want to start when there's only 6 people on. Need a little bit more than that. There should be close to 400.
Oh, no.
What?
Whoa.
Because it should be all 10th and 11th graders.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them are going to tune in, but we'll see.
Are there teachers making them tune in?
It should be. See, this is my test run. See, next week at West, I already had the AP put the word out today that make sure that you understand this is mandatory. So there's we didn't really we did that here, but I don't know if we had a chance to emphasize that.
How many people are on now?
7. 45.
Okay.
Oh.
Whoa. How many?
This is a geometric sequence.
What? Wait, geometric and what's going on?
Yeah, sure. I gotta take that math test today.
Be an exponential graph. Oh, stats.
Yeah.
Why?
I won't be here anymore.
Why?
I'm going to Florida.
Oh.
Gotta get that done.
Good luck. This unit's been kind of hard.
I just did the practice test. I had no clue what that was.
Where? Yeah.
Standard deviation is kicking my butt.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't learn that in psych? Like a little bit of it?
Yeah. No, I just didn't know how much work you're supposed to show, but I'm plugging my calculator. So.
I finally figured out how to do that.
Nice.
It took me searching it up on Google. How to put standard deviation.
It's not that bad. Like, we have a good class, but it's costs a lot more than our class.
Super at this front page, I see on my Chromebook.
Thank you to those of you who have already signed on. We are just waiting a minute or so until we get most classrooms signed on to watch, and we will get started here in a couple minutes.
How many viewers do we have?
43.
Oh. I'm going up.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think some in the classroom figure like, oh, I just need to refresh it, and then hey, you just gotta refresh it,
Yeah, because they sent it on too soon and it wasn't there.
51.
Also could just be one person up at the front forgot to hang it.
Yeah, that's
That Just in
What
case.
I get into this week, I just asked this while she's showing it out of the class, because some teachers just might be showing it to them.
Yeah. That's what Miss Cook's doing.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Okay, well, we'll get started. Okay, good morning. Hopefully all of you can hear me okay. We are doing the CSBL panel a little differently this year. As you can see, we're not all in person, so hopefully this works out. My name is Mr. Hunt. I am the college and career readiness specialist for the district. So I work a lot with youth apprenticeship and internship students, as well as all other CSBL programs. I'm going to just talk to you very briefly about what those programs are and why we are talking about it today. And then I'm going to let the panel here go through and discuss the programs that they're involved in and what that's done to benefit their school year. So to start, the reason we're doing this now is you will be doing registration in a couple of weeks. So if you're a current sophomore or junior, you are eligible as juniors and seniors to do what you may think of as a work-based learning program, which is our CSBL program, okay? So in order to be involved, there takes a lot of planning in terms of getting a job, setting up your schedule with your counselor, and just understanding what it is you have available to you as juniors and seniors in terms of your class load. So I will turn over to them in a bit, but the 4 programs I want to discuss, starting with mentorship. So mentorship is like it's a half credit each semester. It's like a long-term job shadow. You're required to do 40 hours per semester where you are simply going to a job or a career of interest and you are simply observing. So there's not a whole lot of involvement in that. It's mostly observational. CoOp is a program where if you just happen to have a job, you have no interest in doing that job for your career, you're just doing it to earn some money for whatever that may be, you're going and working either during the school day or after school to work that job. You get credit for it. You do get early release for it. Now getting a little more involved, now you go up to internship. Internship is pursuing a program of study or a job related to something that you want to do in the future, all right? It can be paid or it can be unpaid. It all depends on the employer and the experience that you are looking for. You do get a half a credit per semester. You do get a little more leeway in terms of how much time or how early you can be released from school. And so that is some of the benefits of that program. Related to that, and fairly similar, is a youth apprenticeship. The main difference between youth apprenticeship and internship is that a youth apprenticeship must be paid, and it must align with a specific program of study, and you must have aligning coursework. This is probably the most involved program, but it is also a program that you can see a lot of benefit from because it can lead to future college internships. It can lead to registered apprenticeships in the trades. So there's a ton of benefits to doing that. The main thing with internship and youth apprenticeship is because it's related to a program of study you may want to pursue, we would just want you to worry about finding the job first and then let your counselors and myself determine whether or not it qualifies as an internship or as a youth apprenticeship. I don't want you to have to worry about that. So with that being said, again, I don't want to take a lot of time. I'm going to turn it over to the panel here. I'll be off screen asking some questions, and they'll go ahead and go from there. So to start from my panel, just kind of working from right to left here, could you just let us know your name, grade, what program you're in, where you work, and let's just start with why did you pursue a career and service-based learning program?
Keel. I'm a senior and I'm involved in an internship. I work at Best Carpet and I decided to pursue this internship is because I kind of wanted a workplace experience and just to kind of get a professional idea of what my future job may look like.
Hello, everybody. My name is Naisha Bepar, and I'm a senior. I am a youth apprentice at Northwestern Mutual. And the reason I pursued it was, like Grace, to get a real-world experience in technology, because I'd taken coursework in class, but I hadn't really seen how that would translate in a professional experience, and I wanted to get a little bit of experience in that.
Hi, I'm Priya. I'm a senior, and for my co-op, I work at Central Bark. And I would say the reason why I pursued this career was, well, you get to play with dogs, and then I've had a lot of experience with animals in the past, so.
Hi, my name is Narita Kapitansky. I'm a senior, and I'm in the Youth Apprenticeship program. I work at Heritage Senior Living Muskego as a CNA, and I got involved so that I can get some experience in the healthcare field.
Hi, my name is Jacob Borchert. I'm a senior at New Berlin Eisenhower. I work at First Quality Auto. I'm in the CoOp program, and I most pursued the CoOp program because it's giving me a chance to see what it's like in the business world, because I want to pursue something marketing, and I get to design ads and advertise out to customers, which is very nice.
Okay, thank you. Now, just so everyone who's watching out there knows, you do have access to a Google Doc where if you type some questions in, we do have Mr. Anoy on standby here so we can ask some of your questions to the panel. So those are the ones that we're going to prioritize. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to go through some questions that we've prepared ahead of time. So please feel free to start typing in that Google Doc whenever you have a question. So to start, I want to get a little bit into the process of how you get into your job, okay? So what I'd like the panel to answer is, how did you hear about this opportunity? And what was like your job search process like to find the opportunity?
So the job search process for me was quite simple. I just went on the internet and looked up jobs that were available near me, and I saw this one, and I looked at the info about the job, and it matched everything that I wanted to do. So I just used my skills that I learned in speech from Ms. Schlegel and made my resume and helped with my interview skills, and got me the job.
My job search process was a little different. I got my CNA license a few years ago, and I needed a CNA job that was close to home, and I found an assisted living facility that was hiring.
So how I heard about this job was through a friend, and it wasn't that hard, to be honest, just because they were kind of in need of people to help, so it wasn't very hard. It was quite easy for me.
So mine was a little bit more of a process. There was a field trip opportunity offered to a couple students in my technology class at Northwestern Mutual. And so after going on that field trip, all the students that went were sent an email by Mr. Hunt talking about an opportunity of a high school tech mini camp at Northwestern Mutual. So then I applied for that, and then after being selected for that, there was a process to be selected for an internship for the remainder of the summer after completing the mini camp, which included some interviews and such. But yeah, so it was complicated, but it was worth it.
Okay, and mine was a little bit unusual. It was very easy because we are family friends with the owners. So mine was an extremely easy process. They already knew that they were going to hire me. So immediately when I went in, they asked when I could start. So mine's a little bit unusual compared to the other people sitting on the board. But the interview process is basically what I had to go through too.
Okay, thank you. And now this may vary for each of you. Based on what you just said. But when all of you talked about an interview process, okay, can you tell me a little bit about the interview that you were in? Like, how did you prepare? Is it what you expected? And just walk us through what the interview process for your jobs was like.
Process was a little bit unusual. So all I did was just kind of dress up a little bit more formally. And then I didn't really do much to prepare for it, but that's very different than the other interview processes. But the other interviews that I have done, you do have to prepare questions and just kind of get ready for that. But mine was very easy.
So I first had a resume prepared that I had printed out and gave to my interviewer, who is now my boss. And then I also made sure to research the job and what it entailed, and to really kind of convey that I had done that, and to show that I was interested in what their I guess mission was about. And then just answering questions, being really engaged in the conversation, smiling. I was told after the interview, just based on just how much I guess I was smiling and like eye contact and such, it really showed that I was engaged and interested. So I recommend that if you are interviewing.
So for the interviewing process for me, like Grace said, I wore formal clothing. For my job specifically, it required a lot of like experience with animals. So luckily I had that. So that's what kind of made it easier for them to determine if I was the right candidate. Another thing is also knowing about the business as well, since the business I work for is a franchise and it's all over the U.S. So just knowing a lot about the background history of the business is also very important.
My interviewing process was a little weird because I had a phone interview. So beforehand, I researched the company and found out a little bit about it, found out the different programs that they had there. And then I called about my application and they immediately gave me an interview. So just make sure that you're prepared to ask questions and be involved with their programs.
My interview process was quite simple. I filled out the job application on the internet. They called me back, and I went in for the interview. I had a job resume all readied out with all my accomplishments, my strengths, my weaknesses, my past job and work and volunteer experiences. I dressed pretty business casual to go into the interview, and they just basically asked basic questions about me. And then one big thing you want to do if you're going for an interview is ask a follow-up question. They love it when you want to be engaged in what they do, not just what they want to know about you.
Okay. Now, one last, or I should say the first aspect of this whole process is making sure that you're pursuing something in this program that also can work with your extracurriculars, your school schedule, and everything else. Can you each go through like what considerations you made when you're going out and applying for the job and how you had to adjust, whether it be with your schedule, extracurriculars, things like that? What should they be considering if they want to do this program or not next year?
Some things to consider are probably find a job that works best around what your schedule is. And the teachers at Eisenhower and counselors here, they're very helpful. Mr. Inouye, for example, he helped me out a lot with changing my schedule around so that I was able to go to work. I could have all my classes at the beginning of the day, and then I could leave the last 2 hours of the day so I could go to work and get everything done that I have to, and I still have time for sports later that day.
So you kind of have to consider what your home life is like, what your school life is like, what your schedule is. If you have any activities going on, just make sure that you plan around that and find a job that will adjust to those hours, or if they have those hours available.
Like what the other people have said, yeah, definitely consider especially family events because those are usually important, as well as school and stuff, and consider like the types of classes you're taking, like AP classes. Those require a lot of like attention, so just definitely consider the class load that you have. So yeah.
I think one really important thing to keep in mind is communication, specifically with your boss. So I got really lucky with mine. So I started this internship or youth apprenticeship in the summer after my sophomore year. So my junior year, I had a lot more classes. I didn't really have any off periods to give, but just communicating with my boss, he let me work like 5 hours a week last year. And then this year I was able to really be flexible with my schedule as a senior and working again with Mr. Anoy. I had classes just in the morning, and then my afternoons I get to work every day. So yeah, just communication with your boss, with your counselor. Yeah.
I think the most important thing to look for is flexibility, like Naisha said. So if you look for a job that is offering flexibility to students, because they do know that we do have other activities, other school events that we have to go to. So I was very fortunate to have a very flexible boss. So I am able to ask off whenever and just, I don't know, kind of look for things that I can take off for. I think that's just the most important thing to look for, is just the flexibility.
Now, there are some questions that are coming through on the Google Doc that are pertaining to scheduling and how to get this to work with your schedule. So just by a show of hands from the panel, coming into this year, did you already have most of your graduation requirements taken care of? Just by a show of hands. Okay. So as you all can notice, they took care of things ahead of time so that they would have the flexibility to take an internship or an apprenticeship or a co-op, because they didn't have to worry about classes that had to be in their schedule. So if you can take care of things in 10th and 11th grade, you have more flexibility and the ability to have more time off to go do your job when you are a senior. And I think those are most of the questions around the scheduling piece. There was also a question about an opportunity to join an apprenticeship program. So as you notice with both our youth apprenticeship students here, one is in IT, one is in health science. They both had different pathways to get into their apprenticeship that were provided through the classroom, through field trips, if we can have those again. The CNA program also gets you in front of and in touch with different programs. The other option would be to make sure you contact myself. I do the youth apprenticeship program for the entire district. If you sign up for youth apprenticeship for next year, when we register in a couple weeks, I reach out to every single youth apprenticeship student so that we can discuss whether or not you'd like to pursue something and how we'll get you into that job. So that's very important to know when you do your registration in a couple weeks.
Are you paid when you work a program? Do you work like a normal job, or is it basically like a normal job?
Okay, so one of the questions that the students have that all of you can answer is, are you paid? And are you paid is it like a normal job? Do you work, what type of hours do you work? Is that pretty much? Yeah. So the type of hours you work, are you paid like a normal job? Are there other people that are doing a similar job?
Okay, so my internship is paid, which I'm very fortunate for. And then I only work about 12 hours a week, but I am also allowed to increase or decrease those hours based on my availability for the week.
My youth apprenticeship is also paid, I would say probably above average when compared to normal jobs. In the summers, I work a full 40 hours a week. And then, like I said, last year, my junior year, I worked about 5 hours a week. And this year, I'm working 15 to 20 hours a week. And if need be, my boss is flexible if I need to take a couple of hours off, if there's finals and such. So, again, communication.
Mine is also as well paid. My job is pretty much quite similar to other places like Walmart and stuff. It's just like a regular regular hours, 12 hours. You can also, with communication, I'm able to ask my boss if I need more hours or if I want to cut off, according to my availability.
I do have normal hours. I work about 35 hours a week. You can work more or less depending on your schedule and depending on your job.
My job is paid. I probably work about 18 hours a week, and I would say for the schedule part, I usually on 8 days I usually get out of school right around 12:30, and then I go to work from 1 to about 4, and I still have time for sports and workouts after, and then I'll be done with my day by 8 o'clock and still have time to do homework before I have to go to bed, which is nice.
And I think what you noticed from all 5 of them is the way that things work in your schedule and communicating that to your employer is very key. If you don't communicate or understand your schedule, then you can't expect them to. And that's the only time I personally have had to deal with employers is when they don't quite understand what the students are able to do. So communication is key. Another question that we have from some of the students, they are wondering, yes, are there any skills that you've learned on the job that maybe you didn't know prior to going in?
I feel communication skills, it's helped me a lot. It's definitely something I've learned along the way, better than anything I've been taught before. You can't really learn it from paper. It really takes practice with talking to people in order to get better at your communication.
I also learned about communication skills and dealing with conflict at my job. You learn a lot of things that you can't really pick up from anywhere else. You just have to learn through experience.
Like everyone else said, communication is definitely a huge thing, especially when you work at a doggy daycare. You have to communicate any problems regarding animals, regarding the dogs especially, if there's injuries or anything like that. Another thing is definitely time management. When you have a shift right after school, you have to manage your time and figure out how you can get there, and be sure to be early. So yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of personal and professional skills that I've learned, like communication and leadership and such. But technical skills-wise, I came in with a couple, like knowing some programming languages from classes. But there's been majority of what I've done, I've been taught. They definitely took the time to teach me all the different technologies that they use. So I think they know what they're doing a lot of the time, and if they know that it's going to be new technology. If you're going into IT, there's going to be new technologies that you haven't dealt with before, and they want to teach you that. So, yeah.
So I think the job kind of refined the skills that I already came in with. So like all the other members said, they said communication. And I have learned communication not only with like my team, but with customers and patients definitely too. And just know that like every day is kind of a different day. So just kind of being flexible. Definitely learn flexibility, patience, and lots of communications, written and verbal.
Okay, and you guys have done a great job of putting some questions in that Google Doc, so we have some more. There have been a few questions geared towards very specific occupations. For example, there was a question about mentoring for surgery. I can tell you that anything in the hospitals, even without COVID, that's probably one of the tougher places to get into, just due to HIPAA and other confidentiality things. CNAs, having a CNA license is typically your best way into a hospital, but there's always other options you can look for if you're able to network with a parent or family friend or something like that. You may be able to get in for a mentorship or a job shadow. For any specific questions you have, or like a specific profession you want to get into, I would make sure that you follow up with your counselor, have that conversation with them, and then if they feel that it's more of an internship or youth apprenticeship type question, they more than likely will direct you to me, and then we can have that discussion. So for any of those specific questions, make sure you touch base with your counselor first, okay? Yes. There was a question about transportation, and you all can touch on this if you'd like, just your ability to transport yourself. You do need to provide your own transportation, but I'll let the panel kind of discuss how they get to work, if they even are there physically or if they're currently doing their work virtual, and what that looks like.
So I am in person for my job, and I provide my own transportation. I just drive to work every day.
So pre-COVID, in the summer, I would end up driving down to like the bus and then taking a bus downtown to like, the Milwaukee Northwestern Mutual campus. But right now I've been working from home. Even last year during junior year, even though COVID wasn't a thing, because I was only working 5 hours a week and it was a technology job, I was able to work from home then too. So I haven't really needed to deal with the transportation in a little while.
I drive to work every day. I know a friend of mine who did this last year, and she was always able to like have someone drive her, but it's definitely up to the hours that you have and what your boss gives you, so you should definitely work that out, especially if you have like trouble with transportation.
So I do not drive. I have somebody either drop me off or I walk to work myself.
I am in person for work, so I drive to work every day, and it's not really a problem for me.
There are some questions out there about prereqs to be in any of these programs. If you are interested in doing co-op, internship, or youth apprenticeship, you do have to take Employability 1 either prior to or concurrently with the program. I know Employability 1 is also, if you can't fit it in your schedule next year, we do offer it in the summers as an online program. So that's something that a lot of students actually take advantage of. And then once you're done with Employability 1, you do need to be in Employability 2. One thing I want to make clear is that I know youth apprenticeship students specifically, it is not mandatory to be in Employability 2 unless you need it to meet a minimum credit limit in your schedule. So for internship and youth apprenticeship students, that minimum is 3 credits per semester. So you can think of that in our normal schedule is 4 classes in the morning or the afternoon, and then your program you're enrolled in plus Employability 2. If you're enrolled in 5 classes and then you're in a CSBL program, you don't have to take Employability 2 as a youth apprentice. So that's something you have to work out with your counselor and myself. I did want to touch on, because we did touch on it briefly with the panel, can you describe either when you were going for your job or while you're in your job, how has, if any way, shape or form, how has COVID affected what you do in your job?
For me, COVID, really the only thing it's affected is I have to wear a mask to work every day, and I have to social distance myself from customers. And let's say after a customer's done like test driving a car, I have to go in and sanitize it all. I have to make sure everything's clean.
As a healthcare worker, COVID has greatly affected my job. So I have to wear a surgical mask, face shield, and when we have new residents that come in, we have to take COVID precautions and wear personal protective equipment, including gowns, gloves, and a separate face shield and an N95 mask.
For me, COVID hasn't changed much at my job just because we work with dogs majority of the day. But usually when we're up front with customers, we do have to wear our masks and practice social distancing. Thank God with a leash, when you have a dog, you kind of are separated pretty far. So yeah.
So COVID definitely has affected my job a lot. Going from going to the beautiful campus by the lakefront every day to just sitting at home, definitely a big change. And there's a little bit of a loss of being able to interact with the people there. But I guess one way to counteract that is really making sure to try to schedule one-on-ones with the people on your team just to keep that contact there. And yeah.
Besides the basic protocols that Jacob mentioned, my job really hasn't changed that much. I've just had to clean the store more often, and that's really it.
Okay, back to a couple of student questions. There are questions about how to find a job. As you saw, the panel found their jobs through field trip experiences or looking online on different job sites to find their job. We also do have a School District of New Berlin job board. So if you go to our Career and Service-Based Learning website, there is a job board that is broken down by pathway. So if you're interested in marketing jobs, you click on the marketing tab. Architecture and construction, click on that. And that is a list of employers that have worked with our district for years that are trying to get specific jobs to our students. So that is always a great place to start. Otherwise, your next best option would be, if you can't find anything there, you don't find anything online, come talk to me, reach out to me, or reach out to your counselor. So back to some questions for the panel here. Can you describe how this experience has helped you plan for any of your like future educational or career goals?
So like I mentioned before, this job has kind of helped me enter the professional workplace and kind of just gain a knowledge of business and how it works, and maybe if I want to do something like that in the future.
So next year in college, I plan to major in computer science, and this job has definitely helped solidify that for me. And just being able to have this experience under my belt, I know it'll help me find other jobs within this industry or progress further within this job.
So the career that I am doing, it's not really assisting me in any way for my future, but it is a fun job just to like get some money and like save up for the future. I have gained a lot of skills from this job, which will definitely help me once I go to college. I will be pursuing a career in the medical field, so the stuff that we take care of in Central Park when there's like injuries or anything like that, and customer service, that definitely helps when I go into the medical field and, you know, work with patients and stuff.
This job helps me because I plan to become an RN in the future. So being a CNA is kind of a step down from that.
My job helps me a lot because I pretty much solidified myself last year that I wanted to go into the marketing world for college. So I took a job that was based around that, and it definitely showed me that my skills are best geared towards marketing.
Okay, and we only have a little time left, so I have a couple of questions in mind. I did want to answer a question that came through from the students. They asked about trying to balance this with sports and those types of activities. There is flexibility to work less during those sports seasons. There are times where, as long as you work with your counselor or you work with me on when you will be working, that you can even take a little bit of time off with the assurance that you'll go back. But those are going to be very individualized one-on-one conversations. So just make sure that if you're not sure how to balance this or what you should do, reach out to your counselor and work through your schedule that way. So to try to wrap things up here, we got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Can you just, as you're talking directly to students, like what advice would you give them if they are looking at pursuing one of these program options?
If you're thinking about going towards a CSBL program, I would highly advise it. It is definitely a very helpful thing, especially for life after high school. It's definitely something that will prepare you for what you're going to have in the future.
I would definitely go into a CSBL program, but I would make sure that the job that you're looking for, if you're going into youth apprenticeship, is related to your future career, and that you take the courses to benefit yourself in that career.
I would definitely advise that you take CoOp, just because it kind of gets you a little sneak peek of adulthood, and like, you know, you're going to school and then you're going to work and then you come home and then you have to do homework and stuff. I mean, it's a little different than adulthood, but it kind of gives you like a little step ahead in just like managing your money, you know, problem solving, time management, and everything like that.
I would really recommend jumping at like any opportunity you're given. So for example, that field trip, I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to go on it. There weren't that many people going on it, but I was like, why not? And look at where it landed me. So yeah, just making sure, taking initiative to look for those opportunities. They're not just going to be handed to you. So most of the time. So just, look for opportunities.
Along with all of them have said, I think taking this opportunity has really kind of given me a taste of what college is going to be like next year. So the high school schedule is very different from your college schedule that you're going to get. So being able to kind of leave school and having that flexibility with my classes is kind of providing an easier transition to what college is going to be like next year, rather than staying here kind of for my full schedule and then having to go to college next year, and it's very different. So it's just a way easier transition.
Okay, well, thank you very much for all your insight and everything you provided the students. What I do want to finish with, for all the students, if you have follow-up questions, you are more than welcome to follow up with me directly. You can find my email on our school website. You can follow up with your counselor, have conversation with your teachers. I'm also going to be having Mr. Anoy send out a short PowerPoint that outlines a little more in detail the differences between these programs, just in case that wasn't fully clear through this panel. And a lot of you do have some individualized questions. I would make sure you get those questions to your counselors, because we want to make sure that you have a full understanding so you know exactly what you're getting into. So again, thank you very much, and that will conclude our panel. Thank you.